Dear friends, it is with the deepest regret I must inform you that the Board of Trustees has taken a unanimous vote to cancel the 2020 Grandfather Mountain Highland Games. Well, there it is. Hey guys, today I'd like to talk to you a little bit about event photography and disappointment. I just received a message from the Grandfather Mountain Highland Games stating that they have decided to cancel the games for 2020. Now, if you're an event photographer like me, you've probably got that one event that you look forward to every year. It's your big event. It's the one that you wait all year for, and it's a really big deal, and you pour everything you've got into it. For me, that's the Highland Games. I've been going out there for the past 5 years. I've really enjoyed the event. It's an amazing event. It's one of the most highly varied events that I've ever been to. It's a 4-day event that takes place on Grandfather Mountain, obviously in the Blue Ridge Mountains of North Carolina. And it's a Scottish Heritage Festival. I believe it's the second largest one in the country, and so basically you go up there, and I camp up there, which I haven't been able to do any camping this year, obviously because of the coronavirus, which has been a real disappointment. I'm so ready to camp. I've gone and set up my hammock and just sort of hanging out in the yard with the hammock at this point. But you go up there and you camp on the mountain, and over the 4 days, you're going to have heavy athletics competitions. You're going to have live music. You're going to have sports and wildlife and landscape and candid and all kinds of different perspectives and environments and atmospheres and different groups of people doing all kinds of different things. And everybody's really, really nice. It's a really fun environment. And there's something going on all day, every day. I mean, it starts as early as 7 in the morning. Stuff starts happening. People start moving around and getting stuff going on, and it goes on until, if you're in the late curfew campground, it goes on as late as 1, 2 in the morning. So there's stuff to do all the time. You can't possibly see everything or do everything while you're there. So that's part of the reason I keep going back. Is there's just so much to do. But yeah, so each year I focused on something different, this year I was really going to pour my all into landscapes while I was out there and doing video, because this is the first year that I've been doing video with any kind of real intent. In the past, I've done a couple of clips here and there and never really did anything with them because I was always a stills photographer. But this year, I really wanted to focus on video and see if I can come up with something really interesting and make something really nice. Which, in fairness, the Highland Games are a lot of the reason why I started this video channel, because I wanted to get to a point where I was good enough to be able to create a really good video while I was out there. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen this year. So what I've decided I'd like to do is I'd like to take this opportunity to show you some of the images from previous years and talk a little bit about the games and see if I can sort of create the video I wanted to create without going to the games. So for me, the Highland Games on Grandfather Mountain are the event of the year. It's not so much about the event itself, or the people, or the games, or really anything. It's the combination of all those things together is really what makes the games really exciting. For the last 5 years, the second week of July, I've been in the North Carolina mountains. So it's kind of weird thinking this year I'm not going to be there, but it is what it is, and I'll find something to do. Maybe I'll get some trout fishing in if I get lucky. But one of the most exciting things about going to the Highland Games, not the games themselves, but on the trip to the Highland Games, is the temperature difference that you encounter on your way up there. In the middle of July in North Carolina, it's normally 95 degrees, 100 degrees, with 80, 90% humidity. I mean, it's like breathing through a straw. It's terrible. But as you start to climb those Blue Ridge Mountains, and as you get to the top of Grandfather Mountain, you can lose 30, 35 degrees in ambient temperature. Your humidity will drop down to, 40, 50, 60%. It's like stepping into another season. It's amazing. That's a huge draw for me, because you get to the point where, your brain's being boiled in your skull. You really want to get away, and you really can't get away. This is an opportunity to be able to go somewhere and enjoy the outside and be able to do something and not be so stinking hot. It's a really, really nice event just for that alone. Almost forget everything else. That is almost worth it by itself. So you get to the mountain, you set up camp, and camping is always like its own sort of experience. The campground is on the side of a mountain, so it's not level at all. You're at like a 30-degree incline. So if you're camping in a tent, you're going to be sliding down to the corner. That was a mistake I made the first year. It was terrible. I wouldn't recommend it. Get a hammock. These are awesome for that. You string it between two trees, and you can be over a river for all it matters. It doesn't matter what's underneath you. The big thing is just, do you have trees? And Grandfather Mountain is full of trees, so you don't have to worry about that. But it's loud, it's crowded, it's teeming with bagpipes. There's huge fires, and there's marshmallow fights on Saturday. There's so much going on in camp. You could almost go to the Highland Games and spend the entire time in camp. It's like you almost don't have to really even go to the games. You could have a whole experience just in the campground, which is really, really cool. But you aren't going to get any sleep. It's really loud, and it goes on really late. So they normally, calm down around 1, 2 in the morning, but just because everybody, for the most part, has calmed down doesn't mean that everybody has calmed down. So it can be really difficult to sleep. So if you're going to go and you're going to camp, bring earplugs, because you're going to need them. That's without a shadow of a doubt. You're gonna need earplugs, and you might want to bring, some like sleeping medicine or something if you have trouble sleeping, because you're gonna have trouble. But the games start. The games kind of start before the games start, if that makes sense. So. But at the beginning of the games, there's the barefoot race, which is a foot race up the mountain. So it's a 6,000-foot mountain, and it's a foot race from the bottom of it to the top of it. There's only 800 contestants that they allow each year. Most of that is due to time restraints and congestion on the mountain itself, because it's a fairly small path up the mountain. But out of those 800 contestants, the first 100 people will receive a bear mug, which is a really cool, like, handmade ceramic mug. I'll throw up a picture of that so you can see, but they're really cool mugs, and I'd love to have one, but I know I'm not going to come in the top 100. I almost guarantee you I wouldn't be able to finish the race, so that's just something I'm never going to be able to have. But the first 100 people, they get those mugs, and there's a real sense of camaraderie as people get to the end. It's not a race where there's winners and losers, if that makes sense. The competition is with yourself. Everybody wants everybody else to finish, which is a really cool dynamic, and it's something that makes it really special. But one of the things that's super cool about being up on top of the mountain for the barefoot race is that the barefoot race ends right before sunset. So because the barefoot race ends so late, as a photographer, you have an outstanding opportunity that you normally don't get on Grandfather Mountain to be able to shoot sunset from the mountain. Again, normally you can't get up there that late. They close well before sunset. So this is like your one opportunity to be able to get those images that you otherwise won't be able to get throughout the rest of the year. So it's really, really cool, and I would recommend that if you have the opportunity to go there on Thursday for the barefoot race to try to photograph sunset. It's totally worth it, and it's awesome. The images are great. But now the reason I said that it starts before it starts, though, is because the opening ceremony actually takes place after the barefoot race. So after the barefoot race, down in MacRae Meadows, which is visible from the top of the mountain, which is really cool. I found that out. It was the second year. You can actually see the meadows where the games take place from the top of the mountain, because you look down on them. But down in MacRae Meadows, they do the torch lighting ceremony. So, the Scottish clans, anybody who has Scottish lineage that can trace their family line back to Scotland will try to find out which clan they descend from. There's a large group of clans, and some are more famous than others. But if you can find a way to get your family into one of those clans, that you're directly descended from one of those, then you can participate in this torch lighting ceremony, which is really cool. So the families will have a torch that represents their family clan, and they'll add it to the fire. That's the big communal fire to symbolize themselves re-entering the games. That shows a level of togetherness and camaraderie. It's really, really cool aspect. And there's a lot of emotion, it's a real feeling of togetherness at this torch lighting ceremony. And I missed the torch lighting ceremony the first year and the second year. I found out about it the second year, but I was able to see it the third year. Because after the barefoot race, I usually head down to camp and go to sleep because it's late, it's dark, it doesn't seem like there's anything else going on. I never knew that not only is this going on, but there's a few other small events going on. There's a there's a whiskey tasting event and all kinds of other stuff that's going on in this window that I keep missing because I didn't know they were there. So now, is my own sort of opening ritual, something that I like doing is I go to the tartan every morning. Well, not every morning. Two of the mornings when I'm there. It's usually the Friday morning and Sunday morning. I go to the tartan. The Tartan is a Scottish-themed restaurant at the base of the mountain. It's a really, really cool restaurant. It's been there since the mid-'80s, so it's about half as old as the games are themselves. But it's a really, really, really cool little restaurant, and they serve a really awesome breakfast. But the thing for me is the coffee. And my friend Ralph, who always goes with me, he's convinced that it's in my head. But I swear the coffee is like the best coffee I've ever had. I don't know if that's just because I am really excited when I get out there, or if it's something to do with the cleanliness of the mountain air, or if it's just that I'm happy overall and so it tastes better, or if it is actually the best coffee. But it's really good coffee, and you should go. At least try the coffee. It's definitely worth it. So after that, on Friday and Saturday, they do the heavy athletics. So they start out with the amateurs, then they do the women's heavy athletics, and they do the men's heavy athletics. And the heavy athletics are really, really cool because they do all kinds of unreasonable feats of strength kind of thing. I guess it's a traditional Scottish kind of vibe, but they do the throwing of the caber, which is this huge lug. It's got to be 40 feet long, and it's this big around, and they have to pick it up and they chuck it for distance and accuracy. But the trick is it has to land upside down, standing up, and then fall over away from the competitor for it to count. So not only is it about distance and accuracy with a really heavy object, but you have to have pinpoint precision to be able to pull this off. It's really, really cool to see. But they do that, and then they do these heavy metal ball tosses, kind of like a shot put, but not really a shot put. It's like a shot put on a stick. They've got a heavy weight that they throw that's attached to a ring that they throw for height over a bar. And then they also do they do sheep herding, and they do dance competitions, and they do pole vaulting and stuff like that. So other stuff as well. But the heavy athletics are the real draw there. But for me, the real draw, for me at least, is the music. From sun up to sundown and well beyond, every day there's music everywhere you go. There's 2 different groves that are constantly playing. Most of the time during the day, the groves are playing more traditional music. As it wears later in the day, they start playing more newer, modern Scottish-ish music. It's a lot of bagpipes mixed into more traditional instruments. And then in the evening, they do a rock concert, which is really, really cool. So a band called Seven Nations, which is a relatively popular band that you may or may not have heard of, depending on how much interest you have in Scottish heritage. But it's a really cool band, and they're great guys. But Seven Nations will normally play in the evening. And they do a really good job. It's a really, really cool band. It's really, really fun. And I really wish I had recorded some of the music so I could put a clip in here, but I didn't. And what has been done, so I can't give it to you. The event ends each year with the Parade of Tartans. So anybody who has Scottish heritage, whether it's through blood or through spirit, will participate in this. So you wear your family's tartan, which is the colors of your family, whether that be as a kilt or as a scarf or as a dress or whatever the individual chooses to wear. But they'll go and they'll walk in a parade honoring each of their families, which is really, really cool. And then one member of each family clan will line up. And I don't know this for sure, but I have a sneaky feeling, I believe it's the chief of each clan, each local clan, will line up with the flag, with their tartan as a flag, will line up and they'll march, which is really, really cool to see too. And there's a lot of emotion to be captured there, especially as a photographer. And that's a really awesome opportunity that is well worth getting. But after that, what I always do every year is after the Parade of Tartans, I make one last trip up the mountain. It's usually the slowest that the mountain ever gets during this period of time, because most people who show up are more interested in what's going on down in the meadows. So I'll go up and I'll do some landscape photography. It's a good opportunity to do stitched panoramas. It's a good opportunity to photograph the mile-high swinging bridge because there's usually nobody or very few people on it. So it's sort of my time I take for myself for landscapes, but yeah, I mean it's a great event. I'm really disappointed that they're not going to be holding it this year. I understand why. I'm not griping about that. It's a crappy situation that they were put into. If I was in that situation, I would have made, I'm sure, the exact same decision. So I'm not giving them a hard time on the choice whatsoever. I totally understand that. I'm disappointed. I guess I'm just disappointed overall. It's saddening to miss a year. It's the highlight of my year. I look forward to it all year. I plan for it. I build my entire year based on the Highland Games. So it represents a significant loss for me. From an entertainment perspective, I guess. But it's a great experience, and I would really recommend that you go. It's well worth your time. It's well worth your energy, and I think you'll have a good time out there. But as for me, I think I'm going to try to find somewhere to camp as soon as I'm allowed to camp again, and I'll try to get out and have my own Highland Games without the Highland Games. Give me something to look forward to. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.